now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Berardelli here with you at Ross Galloway. Ross, what up, homie?
What's going on, white dude?
Am I allowed to call you homie? Because I see you have white dude up as your moniker this week.
That totally wasn't planned that we both had that.
Oh no, not planned at all, not discussed in the slightest. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. There's been a lot of news going around in the week that has passed since we've done this show. For those of you who are on the YouTubes, check out the poll. We're doing our first poll. What do you think is the cringiest part of the Kamala Harris campaign? We'll leave that up for a little while as people start filing in. And listen, what have you been up to this week? Let's start with that. Let's start with a little banter. Why not?
Well, what is the cringiest part? Can we do a spoiler? What do you think it is?
I mean, is it the twerking at a campaign event with Megan Thee Stallion, and then after Kamala got on stage after the performance, people started leaving? Is it, as I have on my screen, white dudes for Harris? We'll get into that a little bit. Or is it just her overall demeanor and her overall cackling and all this stuff? Is it the putting on the different ethnicity depending upon what's going on, taking the right position depending upon which way the wind is blowing? There's so much to choose from.
Yeah, I know we're going to get to it later, so I don't want to ruin it, but the white dudes for Harris thing was pretty bad. I mean,
absolutely.
I thought it was fake. I can't believe it's real.
Oh, no, there's a lot of it out there. But before we get to Kamala Harris, I do want to get to the news that came out of the Senate with the Secret Service hearing. I think there was also another House hearing, but I didn't have enough time to chop all that up. So we're going to talk about that first. And while we're getting set up here, folks, if you could please, wherever you are, whether it's the YouTubes, whether it's on X, whether it's on Rumble, please like the stream. It helps us out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe wherever you're watching. I think that's the right banner. There it is. I got it right. Holy crap. Let's talk about what happened at this Senate hearing, going through sort of the after action report with Secret Service. There's a new Secret Service director. There's an acting director. His name is Ronald Rowe. And there seems to be a lot of controversy surrounding him, Ross, because a story came out in Politico based upon anonymous sourcing saying that Rowe was responsible, allegedly, for the Trump campaign being denied additional resources that they requested. What do you think about that initially? It's not a good start for an acting director.
It's not, and we talked about this last week, that when Trump gets back into office, God willing, you can't just chop the head off of these bureaucracies. You got to go 2, 3, 4, 5 levels deep, because we got rid of the other director who was a disaster, definitely a DEI hire, but this guy might have been in on it, and by in on it, I'm not going conspiracy theory. I'm just saying in on it, lending to the laxed protocols that were there by denying extra protection. Right.
In other words, he's part of the culture of lax activity, lax behavior that seemed to infest Secret Service here.
Yes, or misplaced priorities, which is the problem with almost every institution in our government now. Right. When the director's chief priority was to get 30% of her force to be female, did this guy voice an opinion on that, or did he just fall in line? Right? 2 or 3 levels down, probably just fell in line. Our military is infested. The Secret Service, we find out, as we knew the FBI was. The CIA clearly is, right? Like, we're in a mess.
Absolutely. And there was also a whistleblower letter that was leaked in this Political article, I believe, as well. Let's get into some of the clips, though, because I think that the senators addressed this somewhat. Let's go to... I got 2 prepared. We're going to look at Josh Hawley's, you want to call it interrogation, questioning, examination of the acting Secret Service director. Let's start with this.
As the law enforcement who are in those windows, as they look left, they should be able to see the shooter clearly there on the AGR second floor roof. My question is, why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper on that roof?
So just to give context for what we're watching here, the acting Secret Service director, Rowe, brought with him some demonstrables, some boards, some photos, showing where people should have been positioned, basically passing the buck to local law enforcement for not being in a post that they were supposedly assigned to in the second floor window that would have looked out onto the AGR building's roof where the shooter was. So that's what Hawley's questioning about right now. Let's get back to it.
So, Senator, when we post up, our methodology is to look at things that can see in on our protectees so that they can provide that coverage.
But why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper there with clear line of sight? That roof has a clear line of sight to the former president. Why didn't you put a Secret Service counter sniper there?
The Secret Service's counter sniper role is to neutralize those threats that are looking in on us from where the protectee is, not necessarily
You think maybe you might want to revise that protocol in light of what happened here?
Let's talk about this for a second, Ross. Basically, from what I'm understanding, just a layman not experienced in this sort of security work, is that it's Secret Service protocol to create a perimeter, to have their assets within that perimeter looking out to the outside of the perimeter for threats to the protected party. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if there wasn't a single Secret Service agent on the ground anywhere there. They are the lead agency, right? So you can't pass the buck to a subordinate agency or unit. The Secret Service is in charge of that entire operation, right? They might have given posts to other departments, but at the end of the day, without oversight, or maybe they were providing oversight to these other departments, why didn't they address it in real time when there was a lapse in a protocol potentially, right? The buck has to stop with them.
And apparently there was some lapses in protocol as well. There was connectivity issues with local Wi-Fi in order to get a drone up, yet the shooter was able to get his drone operational. Secret Service apparently was offered a drone from local police that they refused to accept. There wasn't a dedicated Wi-Fi source for their usage. There were a lot of lapses in planning here. I even think there's a report saying that Secret Service didn't go through a walkthrough with local law enforcement that morning as well. So it's more than just the failure in stopping proceedings and delaying them until the threat was neutralized or anything like that. There seems to be a lot of mess-ups, a cascade of failures here. Let's get back to what Hawley's saying.
They were protecting the principal, and I think
the principal got shot.
I understand that, sir.
So do you think you might want to revise the protocol? Let me ask you this. Who was the lead site agent who made the decision to leave the AGR building completely outside of the security perimeter? Who was that?
Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational. They're still doing investigations. They're still doing protective visits.
Have they been relieved of duty?
Senator, they have not been relieved of duty. I know their name, by the way.
Why have they not been relieved of duty?
Now, see, again, as a layperson, that's an interesting question to me. This was a major screw-up. Why is the person, the agent in charge, or whoever it may be, not stuck behind a desk, take away their gun, take away their badge, and get this investigation really moving? Why is he still on the job?
Yeah, you're spot on, Gene. So, first of all those things you rattled off before we watched this clip about all the lapses in protocol, if you want to call them that, do any of those even make sense? Like, how did they not have Wi-Fi or a drone? Like, a lot of this stuff doesn't even make sense, right? But put that aside for a second. Where Josh Hawley's going and what you just opined on makes a lot more sense. In a military unit, the commander of that unit, 99 out of 100 times, gets relieved of command if there is a major incident involving training that should have been done or was not done to standard, a lack of discipline, or a toxic culture or climate within the organization. All those boxes are checked here, and not one person has been relieved of their responsibilities or their duty yet. That doesn't make any sense. They do that in the military even while there is an active investigation, because you can't take a chance of another person dying or getting hurt, right? And the Secret Service is completely dropping the ball on this.
Well, apparently it's just the upper echelon of the Secret Service. I want to share this with everyone right now. This is an article from Newsweek. Secret Service sniper demands 5 people be fired for Trump shooting, according to a report. This is about that whistleblower we were talking about. A Secret Service counter sniper is demanding that 5 high-level supervisors be fired in the wake of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, warning that another attempt could come before November's election, he says in a leaked email. This agency needs to change, if not now, when, the counter sniper wrote to the agency's uniform division, according to an email obtained by Real Clear Politics' White House and national political correspondent Susan Crabtree. The next assassination attempt in 30 days, because we all should expect another attempt to happen before November. He goes on to say failure is not an option, and on 7/13, we failed, not because of commitment or sense of dedication, but because our supervisors, aka leadership, knew better and thought our concerns were less than important. Pretty strong words in an anonymous email. What do you think hearing that now?
Yeah, and then that email was immediately scrubbed from the Secret Service servers, and I'm pretty sure they're going to figure out who that guy is, and he's going to face some kind of disciplinary action, right, for telling the truth. He's right. 5 supervisors or management level people, absolutely. Whoever was in charge of that specific site and whoever approved the plan. The first director that resigned couldn't even confirm at what level of the food chain that the plan gets approved, right?
And not only that, she didn't visit the site herself in the days after.
No Wi-Fi coverage, no drone. We're going to leave a roof uncovered. We're going to create a perimeter that's less than 150 yards from the nearest structure. None of that makes sense. Who approved that?
What about let's throw another failure in this. Separate radio comm systems between Secret Service and local law enforcement. They weren't on the same comms. There was an encrypted comm service for Secret Service, and there was a different communication service to the point where snipers were texting each other. Local law enforcement were texting their own people, telling whoever was in the main comm center, tell Secret Service A, B, C, D, we see this person. We see them with a rangefinder, et cetera, et cetera. And it had to be manually told to the person in the comm center, and then that comm center person in Secret Service would have to disseminate information. We're not even sure that happened.
I was just going to say, that's the story. That's the narrative being told to us. I don't know if any of that is true or happened, right? We haven't heard from anyone. Why don't we hear from someone on the ground there? They always cite ongoing investigations. This seems like an open and shut case. There's supposedly one shooter, a few rounds. They recovered the body, the weapon, the rounds. Whatever happened to those explosives that they found in this vehicle? We still don't know what type. How did we get a hold of them? Who taught them how to make them? Why can't we? Where are the press conferences? We're talking about Trump at a National Association of Black Journalists thing. The script has completely been flipped, right? Why are they just whitewashing this? You didn't even mention the Google searches and everything that are showing assassination attempt of Harry Truman. Who even knew that existed?
Right. I mean,
the main one that comes up.
And Elon Musk has been talking about that on X as well, that there's something in the algorithms with Google or whatever. I don't know anything about it. All I know is what I see, and I see that when you put in these searches, different information comes up. But what you were talking about, Ross, is what Hawley and later Ted Cruz will show as well we're talking about. Let's get back to Hawley.
We're still cooperating, not only being interviewed by the FBI, but also by our Office of Professional Responsibility. And we will let the facts of the mission assurance and any further investigations play out.
Isn't the fact that a former president was shot, that a good American is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded, isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
Senator, I think you're using the word decided, and I think we need to allow the investigation play out to include.
Who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So yeah, you're right. I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here. And you're telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person
spectacularly.
who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we.
So nobody has been relieved of duty at this point because there's an ongoing investigation, though it's clear that there's been a failure. They're trying to figure out what exactly the failure is. I don't get this. What would be the harm of taking these people out of the field? Does that mean that there's nobody behind them to replace them in the field? Could that be a reason, Ross? What do you think about that idea, that notion?
Is that possible? Maybe. But at the end of the day, like I said, there's someone in charge of that event, right? From the Secret Service. There was definitely an operations plan that was created and signed off by someone that was managing that event and likely approved by the person above them. So like that opens up a whole bunch of questions because this doesn't take weeks to figure out. This guy can get that plan, take a look at it, and figure out, was there interoperability issues noted in that plan, and what was the mitigating circumstance behind that? How can they mitigate that problem?
And actually, Ross, a member of the chat is likening this to another situation where we still have no answers. Whatever happened to that whole Vegas shooting a couple of years back? We never found out any key information on that. Are we looking at a pattern in practice of a cover-up? Or is this malfeasance or just, I don't know, just being irresponsible? Do you think that there's purpose behind the lack of information and the deflection that you're seeing from acting director Rowe?
I don't know about a lack of purpose, but I can tell you this. Who was the lead agency in the Vegas shooting investigation? The FBI. Who was the lead in this one? The FBI, right? The Secret Service is doing an internal review of their own failures. Again, should not take this long. It's pretty clear cut. It's like either things were in that plan or they weren't, and someone signed off on that plan, right? So this is a quick one, open shut. But the FBI, looking at the entire thing, we like the chat member said, yeah, we never got an answer for the Vegas shooting, right?
Yeah.
We still don't know what happened there.
Yes, thank you, Get a Care, for that comment. We really appreciate it. Folks, if you're listening wherever, you can leave comments on Rumble and on YouTube. We'll see them in our chat. We'll highlight them as we go along here. There's a whole lot more to this whole Josh Hawley interrogation, but I do want to go forward to what Ted Cruz talked about. You're going to see some fireworks here in this clip.
Statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
Okay. This is where everybody's going to get a lesson in hiding the ball. Notice the answer from Rowe, and Ross, I know, picked up on this right away. The answer was conditioned upon one event for one day, the event in Butler, Pennsylvania. That doesn't mean that the Trump detail wasn't denied resources prior to that. Remember, Donald Trump has had Secret Service around him since 2021 when he's been out of office. So there clearly were other requests for support or additional assets that were denied, given that answer. Am I right in that characterization, pal? What do you think?
Yeah, and even if we take him at his word, right, that what he just said was true, we know for a fact right now that prior to the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt, that there was credible intelligence that Iran put out a hit on Donald Trump. So if this was the upgraded security package, what the hell did he have before that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania? If this was the upgraded, we got to really dot our I's and cross our T's security package, what the hell did he have before? Like, it's very hard to take him at face value because it doesn't pass the sniff test at all.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed?
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about the media reporting of assets requested, there were times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
So I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph, top officials of the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination, according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right, that repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets are requested. There's a process that is made. And
how many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
I can get you that number in a queue.
You don't know now.
So I can speak to the ones that reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
But you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since 2021 that the former Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way, did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
Has this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he still have a job?
He is still employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, did she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements. They do deconflict them and they put them out.
Comms team just puts shit out anytime they want to.
Sure. Bro, he was about to say that. He was like, yeah, they say what they say. What are we going to do?
It's the comms team. Who listens to them anyway? It's not like they know anything. Are you kidding me with this bullshit? Come on.
No. Notice the other thing, Gene. He didn't go into it. He was about to. He said, there's a process to request additional assets, right? And he didn't really go into that. And he just said, we backfill with state and local law enforcement and other departments' assets, right? But what does a process in government speak actually mean? That means lots of paperwork, lots of time, lots of levels of approval, and it's just an all-around pain in the ass, right? So some of the stuff that I heard online was that after you request something so many times and it gets denied, you just stop requesting it, right? So maybe Butler, Pennsylvania, they didn't request anything else. I think of it like in New York City, a place where I used to live. How many times would you request a concealed weapon permit from the NYPD? It's cumbersome, it's a long process, and you're going to get denied. So anyone who's been through it and gotten denied once or twice, you're not going to keep doing it, right? So after the 10th time, if you finally get shot in the street, the NYPD will be like, well, he didn't really apply for a weapon permit in the last couple of months. Yeah, but what about all the other times that we wasted time and effort asking for these things and they denied it, right?
Absolutely, yes. And when you talk about bureaucracy, I'm sure Homeland Security was involved in this. I think it goes all the way up to Mayorkas's office. At least when it came to the RFK requests for Secret Service, it went to him. But yes, it's a beautiful menagerie of paperwork. But the one thing about bureaucracy is because it demands paperwork, there should be a paper trail that this acting director should have been able to study to know how many requests were made for additional assets and resources. The fact that he's doing it on both ends, he's saying, well, I don't know for sure, but it goes through a process. You got to put those two hands together, pal, and you got to be able to look and see how many requests were made, give some answers to the American people. Let's keep going.
Did she approve this statement?
I don't know if she did or did not, Senator.
And you don't know if you did either?
I don't recall approving it, Senator.
Ridiculous.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the Trump detail and every response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
Well, good.
May I ask you something? And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the Washington Post?
Yes.
So the process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, That is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our
Okay,
office
so
of
there's a
investi-
bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy, Senator.
Give me the
it's a
person
process.
that's the decision maker. Is there?
Okay, I saw you shake your head on that one. Go for it. Just go off.
Wait a minute. So there's not a bureaucracy. There's a process. That is like just about the definition of a bureaucracy, right? You don't pick up the phone.
Yes.
Like you said, there's lots of paperwork and hoops to jump through to get what you need. And it goes back to an earlier point that I made. This stuff is all easily found, right? Like you said, they can find this stuff out. My real question for this, after hearing this and thinking about it, Gene, was if you were going to get called before a congressional committee on any topic, especially a topic as big as this, would you not have gotten some of this information beforehand? It's rhetorical, right? Because of course you would have. So that leads us to either the former director and this acting director do know the answers to these questions, or they purposefully did not seek out this information prior to speaking to Congress, right? Both those are unacceptable, but one of those are true.
It has to be true. Those are the only alternatives you had. Either you stuck your head in the sand and didn't want to find out because you wanted to have plausible deniability as you are under oath before a Senate hearing, or you go in and you find out the ugly truth and you have to report on it.
And those are your only two options. It's very binary here.
Yes,
there's no other option.
The acting director is trying to act a little bit pregnant in this testimony. That's what it is. And it's just impossible to do.
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or nay.
So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president, leadership appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question.
Yes, it is.
There's a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
Bipartisan process that the Hill
it's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What cameral?
For a candidate,
you are not a Congress. You don't have a cameral.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the.
And it goes on from there.
First of all, don't blame
CPAC.
CPAC had nothing to do with this.
CPAC had nothing to do with this. Shout out to all our friends from CPAC. We know you are blameless, but we know who's not blameless. That's the whatever the C-suite is, the high executive offices of the Secret Service. They're playing hide the ball. No one's gotten fired. No one's gotten suspended. No one's been taken out of the field. No one's responsible for anything. We're not identifying anyone. And you have to understand that this is all a process and a conversation, but not bureaucracy.
Yeah. And Gene, I'm no fan of RFK Jr., right? And before the Trump attempted assassination, to me, it's a no-brainer that you give that man a detail, right? Like, what justification could there possibly be? Maybe he doesn't get helicopters and drones, but a personal protective detail, some guys to walk with him with guns, like, to me, that's a no-brainer, right? He has 2 family members killed in politics, assassinated. No-brainer. And they're saying this wasn't political decisions?
Absolutely 100% was political. I certainly feel that way. Listen, folks, we are at halftime here on the show, where I do my spiel. I got to keep remembering how to do this. Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene, he's Ross. And while we got you on the internet, because we know you're on the internet, because this show is only on the internet. We're on the YouTubes, we're on the Twitters, we're on the X, we're on the Rumble. Please subscribe wherever you're watching. Hit that thumbs up button wherever you're watching. Like the show. Share it with your friends. All that really, really good stuff because it helps the show grow week by week. All right, now let's have a little bit of fun because it's time to talk about the cringiest candidate in the history of politics, in my opinion. Talking about the I'm not going to call her the nominee. I refuse to do that in anything we're doing right now. She is the Democratic designee. She didn't go out there and earn any votes. She went out there and got designated by her party, talking about Kamala Harris. Ross, just give me your initial thoughts on this. Is she the cringiest candidate ever?
She was cringy before. It's only going to get worse. No matter how much the media tries to whitewash this woman, can I use whitewash? No matter how much they try to whitewash her and her views and her stances and her cackles, there's no way to brush this candidate off and make her look good and sharp. There's just no way. She is cringy. She has this weird thing with her shoulders when she speaks, the laugh. When she's speaking, everybody talks about the word salads. There's a reason for the word salads. She truly has no idea what she's talking about. I know you have a bunch of clips lined up.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Did she really feel those ways about those positions back then? Does she even know what those things are? I don't want to spoil it, but just one quick example. Fracking. She said that she would immediately ban fracking and offshore drilling. My follow-up question, if I was the moderator or debating her, would be, oh, you would. Can you describe what fracking is in detail? I don't need the scientific process of it. I just need in detail, in general, describe to me what fracking is. I guarantee you she can't, right? So I don't even know if she's a super lib. I assume she is. But she has no core value, no principles at all.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is cringe in and of itself.
She goes wherever the wind blows. Let's start with this. There was a press conference. Peter Doocy was there with Karine Jean-Pierre. Let's let Peter Doocy kick off this segment.
President Biden wants Vice President Harris to be the standard bearer of the party now. Does she still want to get rid of ICE?
You have seen what this administration has been able to do in the past 3.5 years, and they did that with the vice president as a partner in that.
Yes, we've seen that. We've all seen that. That's why we're asking this question, because we know from the past that Kamala Harris compared ICE to some bad white dudes who apparently are not for Harris. Let's get into this flashback from when Senator Harris was looking to appoint or be part of the advising consent process for appointing an acting director of ICE.
Asked you about the statement you made describing the Democratic Party as liberal-cratic or neoclanist, which was, I think the assumption there was that you were comparing it to the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. So you said in response to his question, you're sorry because the words caused offense. So would you not be sorry if no one was offended by your words?
No, it was wrong to do.
Why was it wrong?
Because those are offensive words.
So now Kamala Harris is going to take this nominee to task for the words that she used comparing Democrats to the KKK. By the way, if you know your history, not exactly an inappropriate comparison considering the history of the KKK. But listen to this tortured just examination here about this comment that this nominee made.
Why are they offensive?
Because they have history in this country, and I honestly did not mean it that way.
But please talk about the history. What is the history that would then make those words wrong?
Well, the Klan was what we call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between
I'm talking about perception.
Officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no.
Are you aware that there's a
that
perception?
puts ICE in the same category as the KKK? Is that what you're asking me?
Is that what you're asking me? Are you comparing ICE to those bad white dudes who apparently are not for Kamala Harris? Listen to this answer. I'm going to give you a chance, Ross, but I want you to listen to this answer.
No, I'm very specific about what I'm asking you. Are you aware of a perception that the way that the discretion
I see no parallel.
I'm not finished.
I see none.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Are you aware that there's a perception that ICE is administering its power in a way that is causing fear and intimidation, particularly among immigrants, and specifically among immigrants coming from Mexico and Central America?
So she's not coming out and saying that that's the comparison. She's intimating that comparison. Really?
First of all, the KKK was 100% a Democrat domestic terrorist group. 100%, right? Fear and intimidation of immigrants by ICE. Last time I checked, that's sort of ICE's job, right? They're not using fear and intimidation to affect a political process like terrorists do. They are enforcing immigration law against criminal illegal aliens, right? That's what ICE's job is, immigration and custom enforcement. ICE is not even the people on the border. ICE are the people that go and look for criminal illegal aliens. So boo-hoo if they feel fear and intimidation from that law enforcement agency.
Absolutely. Hey, Christy checking in from Nashville. Hey, Christy, how you doing? See you in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by. Christy's out there on the road. She's a friend of the show, working different locations for the Trump team. So glad she was able to make it as well. So let's go back to Peter Ducey's question. Does she still want to get rid of ICE?
Republicans got in the way. The president went around Republicans and was able to get thousands of personnel at the border. And now we are seeing a 50% drop at the border.
Isn't it amazing what an election year can do? For 3.5 years, we saw chaos at the border being overrun, millions of migrants coming across the border, the People's Republic of New York City at capacity, Boston at capacity, Chicago at capacity, Denver at capacity, fentanyl streaming across the border in California. But now they solved it. Now they got it all taken care of. So I guess that means you can get rid of ICE? Is that what she's trying to say here?
It's so frustrating. It's the tennis ball theory that we always talk about here.
Yeah. Explain the theory.
50% down from what? Right? Like the starting point always kind of matters when you're talking about numbers. 50% down, she claims, border crossings. From when? From last year when they were up like 500%? Like from when? And they're only doing border encounters. They're very careful with the words they use. They're not talking about the gotaways. So if they just stop encountering them, the numbers go down, right? They try to claim credit for a small stretch of the border in Texas that has seen numbers plummet there. Oh, well, that was Governor Abbott and the Texas National Guard securing Eagle Pass, right? They constantly trying to claim credit for that. But the numbers in California are skyrocketing because it's like water. It just went to the path of least resistance and moved there. 50% from what, Gene? What is she talking about? Give us context.
Exactly. Well, listen, I also have to take an aside here because we do have a beard comparison, and just fuck off. Just I was so nice to her with saying, she came on here and whatever, and now I'm getting beard shamed.
I appreciate that.
Oh,
it is still a magnificent, fantastic beard.
Yeah, when you going duck hunting? Let's get back to this.
And that's because of what this president has done.
As a partner, though, she's been in charge of root causes of migration for years. She has never spoken to the Border Patrol Chief, Jason Owens, or the Border Patrol Chief before him, Raul Ortiz. What should that tell us about her leadership style?
She was supposed to be doing root causes, dealing with diplomacy. Diplomacy. That's what her job was supposed to be. Diplomatic. That's the job.
Yeah, okay. Diana, I agree with you. I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth either. But she doesn't get down to the mud with those pores at the border. She's there to talk about the high level, the C-suite stuff, the diplomacy of it all. Come on.
But root causes, Gene. So, okay, she kept saying she was supposed to go do and, look for root causes. So where was like her big speech or report or her findings or her solutions? Like, we've never heard anything from it, right? We only got like 96 days left till Election Day. Are we ever going to get an update on what the root causes were and what we're doing to stop it? What is let me just rewind for 1 second.
In the words of Hillary Clinton, at what point does it matter now, or some shit like that? Because the numbers are down. What do you care what the root causes were? The numbers are down now. So shut up, you rabble-rouser. How dare you even question?
The other problem is, like, our side constantly falls for this trap. We've gotten better. Trump is much better at this than most Republicans. We like accept the premise of a lot of the things they're saying and then argue on their terms, right? The whole point of an asylum process is that they are fleeing like an immediate danger to their life based on some kind of persecution. The vast majority of people flowing across our border do not fit that criteria. So we don't have like an asylum crisis. We have an open border crisis. So what is the root cause? If they are truly here claiming asylum, Kamala Harris should be able to point to government dictatorships south of our border or anywhere else around the world that are, administering genocide against portions of their population, which is forcing these people to flee here to seek asylum. But that's not the case, right? Wouldn't we be aware of that if that was happening in Venezuela or Mexico or any of these places? It's clearly an economic reason why they're coming here, coupled with an open border.
Well, not for nothing, what I'm more concerned with is Kamala Harris is trying to portray herself as the prosecutor president, much the same way she tried to do in 2020. Yet she makes comparisons to bad white people with ICE. And she also, well, we're not doing that one yet. Let's talk about her position on defunding the police. Let's flash back with CNN now, talking about Kamala Harris's, let's call it shifting positions.
He stood on the defund the police movement. Take a listen to this.
Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. And when you have many cities that have 1/3 of their entire city budget.
What are you doing?
She does the shoulder thing. Every time she talks and she don't know what she's about to say. Start watching it, the shoulders.
The shoulders, okay. I'll keep an eye on the shoulders.
Focused on policing. We know that is not the smart way and the best way or the right way to achieve safety. This whole movement is about rightly saying, we need to take a look at these budgets and figure out whether it reflects the right price.
Now I can't not see it. It's there. You're absolutely right. It's there.
Priorities. For too long, the status quo thinking has been, you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong.
Now, in another interview that same week, Harris praised Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti for removing $150 million from the police budget and investing that money in social services. Listen to this.
Now, just so you guys know, these clips that you're seeing from CNN, which, by the way, CNN, they're actually committing random acts of journalism. This is from 2020, not 2024. This was back during the 2020 election cycle where defund the police was all the rage in progressive circles.
That's a legitimate conversation, and it requires a really critical evaluation. I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
Now, some important context here is that polling showed that reducing police budgets was never really popular, even in 2020. A Pew Research poll found that year that just 25% of adults supported reducing police budgets that year, and by 2021, that support had decreased to just 15%. But it is also important to note that the Biden administration, which of course included Vice President Harris, passed the American Rescue Plan, and that did put billions of dollars to cities to boost their budget for local police. Still, as Harris runs, trying to use that history as a prosecutor, Republicans are going to use some of this to try to portray her as soft on crime.
Republicans are going to pounce, Ross. They're pouncing. Yeah. Look out.
Yeah. I love how the left is trying to paint her as like a tough prosecutor from California by way of San Francisco, the beacon of law and order.
Well, and her time. Listen, I think we all should go back and we should all constantly watch Tulsi Gabbard just eviscerate Kamala Harris on her Law and Order record. How she kept people in prison longer than their sentence required. How she used cheap prison labor. How she basically took a generation of black men and created a prison culture because of all of her bad deeds and actions when it came to the management of the law and order in California.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to watch it. I'm missing things. She talked about how she would put people. Kamala Harris bragged about putting people away for marijuana possession, while she herself was bragging how she used to smoke a joint.
To Tupac videos before he was even famous. So, but I paint her with the same brush as I do with the acting director of the Secret Service. Right? She either knew that those things were happening while she was the Attorney General in California, or she didn't know. Both of those are unacceptable, right? One of them is true. She either knew that violent criminals were not being charged while low-level marijuana offenders were. She either knew or she didn't know. Both unacceptable.
Absolutely. Now we're going to go to the one that I passed over earlier. This is a little more of a fun one, talking about the environment, because after all, everyone on the left is just pro-Earth, right? I think we're all pro-Earth in that sense, but climate change and all the stuff, all these issues that are so good for the left, yet Kamala Harris finds ways to screw it up. Let's flash back to this little nugget.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you're just like if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend.
Oh,
and then the little thing, and then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
So you'd ban it, but rely on innovation.
I mean, we got it. Yeah, innovation is a process, right? You don't just do it. Innovation is a process, but let's encourage innovation. And I think we could do a little bit better than some of those flimsy plastic straws, but we do need to ban the plastic.
Yeah. By the way, do you guys know the origin of the whole plastic straw movement that happened a couple of years back? Believe it or not, I researched this for my book. And it was going to make it into the book. It had to be cut for space. But here's the gist of it all. The way that the whole plastic straw thing came about was that it was a virtue signal. There was a child, I think it was a 9-year-old child, that decided to do a project about plastic straws. And it became a movement from that. There was a 9-year-old who misstated the statistic as fact. It was a child named Milo Kress who started a local Be Straw Free campaign back in 2011. So there was this calculation that Milo did trying to say that, plastic straws end up in the ocean more than everything else. It got into the hands of an organization called EcoCycle, a Colorado-based recycling nonprofit, who thought it would be a good marketing plan to take this preteen's work and put it out into the world. EcoCycle then, in turn, used this kid's statistics, gave them to the National Park Service, who didn't do any independent fact-checking of its own, told that same statistic to NBC News, who also didn't check it, and in turn, it got out into the world. It was a buffoonish game of telephone played by a lot of people, and as it turned out, plastic straws make up somewhere around 0.025% of plastic waste that makes it into the ocean. So while that's still 2,000 tons of plastic straws in the ocean, imagine 8 million tons of plastic waste, and you're dealing with 2,000 of that, and you're getting it out there. Great virtue signaling for the Democrats. It's a bunch of BS.
Yeah, this party likes to take the word of preteens. Greta Thunberg was lecturing us on climate change not long ago, and the left fell in line with some girl who's probably somewhere on the spectrum, it looks like, telling us how to live our lives. Paper straws, by the way. Forget about the plastic part. I don't believe any of that stuff anyway.
But the chemicals. The chemicals in them.
They're chemicals that came from Earth, and they're going back to the Earth, right? That's my view of it. But what does the left want to replace plastic straws and plastic bags with? Stuff that comes from trees. If they really Weren't they telling us that we were cutting down too many trees not too long ago and the rainforests are all disappearing? But now they want to replace plastic straws that arguably could be recycled, I guess, with cutting down more trees to make paper bags and paper straws. Like, how does that even make sense? Before we read that comment from Diana, the other thing I just wanted to say was with Kamala, right? Chameleon. She doesn't really believe any of the things she's saying. When you were watching that torturous answer she gave, do you believe that she had a core principle there, or was she just going with what she thought that the moderator and the audience wanted to hear at the time? She has no views. She doesn't know what she believes in. I don't even think she's smart enough to form an opinion. Like I said, when she talked about fracking, ask her to describe fracking. Ask her if she knows how many plastic straws wind up in the ocean. Ask her if it's better to cut down trees to make paper straws. Let's get real answers. She has not given an interview yet, Gene, since she got coronated as the leader of the pack to become the Democratic nominee. Why?
No, not nominee, designee. She hasn't stood for an election. She hasn't earned a single delegate in 2 different presidential election cycles. She's the designee.
I agree. And Trump agreed to no holds barred anywhere, anytime with Joe Biden. The Democrats don't have a nominee or a designee yet. So he can't agree to a debate with her. And there is no reason to stay with ABC at this point, right? Go somewhere where she will get asked real questions and real follow-up questions and have to articulate her positions if she has any. I don't believe she has any opinions or positions, really, or principles. And even if she does, she would not be able to articulate them at all. She needs to be exposed. There's only 96 days left. The clock is ticking.
Well, listen, I just want to run through some of these other clips we have. This is from this morning's video that we did here on the channel. Ross, have you seen the whole white dudes for Harris fiasco?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I was in there and they cut mine for time, I think.
They cut you? Well, that sucks. Well, listen, we were watching this early and having a good laugh. There is a group of, I guess, wannabe influencers, washed up Hollywood people, social justice warriors out there who think that being white is something to apologize for. And the best way to apologize for that is to use their privilege to back Kamala Harris. You got to see that. This is some of the cringiest bullshit I've seen. Take a look. We put it in this morning's video. Check it out if you want to later in full. I'm just going to play just some of this because we got a little bit more to get to.
Variety of whiteness we have here was like a rainbow of beige.
I'm white, I'm a dude, and I'm for Harris.
Over the last few years, I've been thinking a lot about men.
Oh, I bet you have. Do you see the hat in the graphic? They're trying to copy the MAGA hats out there with this trucker hat of white dudes for Harris. It's just so cringe.
I've never taken anything serious said by a guy with a man bun, period.
I think that's good advice for everybody out there. This is Josh Gad of Stage and Screen talking about his own life experience about what happened the night Trump was elected, that fateful night. Which, by the way, Ross and I were out partying in the Flatiron District in the People's Republic of New York City, just having a ball. I wonder if Josh had a similar experience.
I'm not sure if you guys can recall that feeling you had on the night of Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. I stood over my kid's bed and I wept.
White nationalist in MAGA?
Whoa. Who invited this guy? Hold on a second here. Hold on a moment.
He's as white as Kamala is black. I'll allow it.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. I just want to back up to see what he was saying here.
White nationalist in MAGA? They want to speak for you specifically as white men.
In the marginalized.
Yeah. Don't listen to those white men. Listen to the black guy. He's going to tell you how to think. Come on. This is just freaking laughable as hell.
Communities that educate me every single day. That this is a constant education for all of us.
Kamala is carrying on her shoulders 248 years of pain, of agony, of hope, of frustration. And no matter how high she jumps, no matter how many degrees she has, no matter how good her grades are, she's never good enough because they're always moving the line.
But man, I am scared to death of what the future could look like if we go back to another Trump administration, one that truly left working construction white men behind.
I'm sorry, but aren't they in unions? Don't they have like union protections? How are they left behind? What the hell is going on here?
Gene, you have not played a single guy on here that is not weird.
Well,
And
we're gonna
you're
keep on going.
JD, yeah, keep going.
Hang on, let's keep on going.
Weird.
You've seen it
JD
with
Vance are trying to paint as
congressional
weird.
leaders
There's only one not weird guy on here.
Yeah, the weird factor definitely not coming from the right, especially when you see this collection of buffoons.
Called Vice President Harris a DEI candidate.
Well, she is a DEI. Okay, let's deal with this right away. Yes, she's a DEI candidate, not necessarily because of her skin color, but because she is not as qualified as most people for this job, and she was selected by the Democrat Party to fill the position of designee for the party. It wasn't based on qualifications, because if it would have been based on qualifications, they would have given it to Dean Phillips, who earned delegates, or they would have given it to RFK Jr., who's been in the race the whole time. She was selected as a designee because she checked the boxes for the Democratic Party. And now she's going to select a DEI vice president to check the other boxes that she needs to fill out the ticket. But here's your boy Pritzker, Russ. Do you want to say anything before I go on?
Yeah, just real quick on the DEI topic. So you're talking like today. Just rewind. She is the true definition of a DEI hire when she was selected for vice president. She fizzled out before Iowa and got 0 delegates in her run for presidency.
Yes.
Joe Biden ran saying that he was going to select a female black vice president, right? He said that. That is the textbook definition of DEI. The definition of DEI is not what the letters stand for: diversity, equity, and inclusion. The definition of DEI is what the intended end result is, right? So she is the intended end result of DEI, i.e. a DEI hire for vice president, and fast forward for president now.
Yeah, it wasn't her background, experience, education, accomplishments that got her that nomination. In fact, she was going after Biden as being racist back in the 2020 election cycle. She was chosen because she checked boxes. It had nothing to do with her experience. And this is the problem, the sympathy I have for people who are selected or perceived to be selected as a DEI candidate, nominee, whatever. Ketanji Brown Jackson, perfect example. Her credentials are probably stellar. She probably went to a great law school, clerked for a great judge, did a lot of great work. I may not agree with her decisions, but she earned the spot. But she'll only be remembered because Biden said, I'm picking the skin color, not the person. And that's the problem with these hires, because they may well be qualified. Kamala Harris definitely isn't. But others may well be qualified, and they'll only be known as that DEI hire. Here comes your favorite part, though, right, Ross? Here we go.
Let's be clear about who Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are. Donald Trump is a 34-time convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, and a congenital liar. He's a fraud. And J.D. Vance is his mini-me. I even created my own cognitive test that describes the two of them: sofa, dolphin, shark, cats, convict.
Real men.
Okay, what the fuck was that? What is that?
That was cringy.
Well, okay, so we'll just move on. I don't even know what he may be referencing, something from the cognitive test from Trump from back in the day. I'm sure a lot of people remember what he's referencing right there. That's why it's cringe.
Respect women, their decisions, their careers. And it's pretty clear that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance don't.
A woman president, man. How exciting.
I think we can leave it there. That's a great summary of the energy. And
I don't know, Gene. If the Big Lebowski's all in, I guess maybe I'm all in too. They got me. Let me just.
I never saw that movie, by the way. I've never seen that movie.
I dislike the man and his views. Great movie, though. You should watch it. I'll leave it that there. So white dudes for Harris. Here's my quick take. I think that Donald Trump should take out ad time on BET and just play that continuously on BET. Let black men see the lineup of white dudes for Harris over and over again. They selected, they're either gay or metrosexual dudes, guys with man buns, B-list or washed up actors. Where were the real white dudes? Like, where was the electrician, the plumber, the sanitation worker, the police officer?
Yeah. The blue collar guys, where are they?
Yeah.
They were represented by that one guy worried about white construction workers. That was their representation right there.
I don't know. Any white dude I know thinks that the way Donald Trump dances is all right with us. White dudes for Trump.
Well, speaking about race relations, which I know you're an expert on, Donald Trump made a statement at and during an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, which, by the way, how did he get that invite? That was pretty amazing. Got an invite to show up there, talked about Kamala Harris's race, real touchy subject, was trying to figure out whether she's Indian, whether she's black. I liken it, Ross, to women putting on a pantsuit. She decides what race she wants to put on depending upon the day and her preference, because she has clearly talked about both in some context or another when running for something or doing some interview. She was touted in 2018 as the first Indian American senator, and there were hundreds of articles that went on that. And I found this little nugget thanks to a good friend of ours, the Reverend C.L. Bryant, who's been on our show before and who's been, a good friend on social media. This is a clip from a cooking show, I guess, with Mindy Kaling, with Kamala Harris touting her Indian ancestry.
Oh my God, you do it at a taster's. Oh my, you have no idea. This is how my mother kept all of her stuff.
This is so funny. I told my dad I was like bringing over the stuff from the store. He's like, obviously I put them in Taster's Choice.
But this literally was how my mother kept all of this stuff.
That's so funny.
What is that?
Do they tell each
I
other?
don't know.
Oh, okay.
Hi guys, it's Mindy. I'm here in my kitchen, and today we are cooking, but we have a very special guest. Very special. Senator Kamala Harris.
Hi guys.
Wait, so here's what I want to know.
Okay.
Is it respectful to call, I should be calling you Senator Harris, right?
No, you should not.
Okay, let's see if we can get past some of the BS here. Maybe we can get past
Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so were you raised eating South Indian food?
South Indian food, lots of rice and yogurt, potato curry, dal, lots of dal, idli.
Yes, Italy. That's a deep cut. Okay, so what we're cooking today is two things. One of
Well, I don't care what they're cooking. I just care that Kamala Harris, in this particular video back from the 2020 campaign, she's Indian. But if you look around now, Ross, if you see the rallies in Atlanta, you see Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage. I don't see any Indian ritualized dancing or anything like that. Do you see that at all?
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, I see the opposite. Can you share my screen when you get a chance?
Absolutely. It's a first on the show here. Let's see what we got.
So this is Kamala. That looks like your average black family to me, I suppose. And then this was one of the articles you mentioned. This was actually from 2016. And this was from the Associated Press, right? So she wasn't black back then. And when Trump says she became black recently, the man is not wrong, right? He's at something called the National Association of Black Journalists, which was basically an ambush to get Trump. They expose themselves for the frauds that they are, the fake news, right? They are not.
Can you go back to the first photo, by the way? Go back to the first one. Oh,
That's
yeah,
on
I
the
totally
left.
see it.
I see it. That's like every black family I seen in Brooklyn when I used to live there.
Sure. Absolutely. Make your point about the National Association of Black Journalists. Who,
Yeah,
by
I
the
think
way,
that Trump did it a lot. He's catching some flack for it, but I think that, as usual, the initial take by the mainstream media is wrong on this. He exposed them again. The I forgot her name because it's basically irrelevant, but the lead moderator on that panel was from ABC, where he's supposed to do that debate in September, where he was supposed to do it with Joe Biden, right? But it was an ambush setup, and they attacked him, and they basically prefaced the first question with calling Trump a racist, right? Like, you can't start an interview that way and then be cordial the rest of the way, right? They laid their cards on the table. They are pro whoever has the D at the end of their name. And the last gasp of a failing campaign, and we see this every cycle, is the race card. And they are going hard and heavy on it because they can't beat Trump or the Republican Party, even though I hate the Republican Party, on policy. Right? There is no policy where Kamala Harris can articulate a position and be better than Trump. Their records speak for themselves. The way they speak about issues and what they plan on doing speak for themselves. I'll challenge anyone in the chat or Eugene. What is something Kamala Harris will do if she's elected president?
Oh, I mean, she just goes wherever the wind blows. Ross, I'm going to share my screen for a second here because I did find
I'm good. I just
an
wanted to show
article. Take your ass down. I did find an article that I think we might want to look at from the whole thing you were talking about with the ABC reporter. Let's get this up on the screen. I don't want the newsletter. God damn it. Trump attacks ABC News reporter during tense NABJ interview. We're not going to go through the video. We can save that for another show. Former President Trump on Wednesday clashed with an ABC News correspondent at a convention of black journalists, slamming her disgraceful questioning after she asked why black voters should trust him with another term. ABC News' Rachel Scott opened a question and answer session with Trump by citing his past comments, spreading the birther conspiracy about President Obama. We're going back to 2015, people? His call for certain Democratic lawmakers to go back to countries, I think you're talking about Ilhan Omar on that one, that they came from, and meeting with a white supremacist at Mar-a-Lago, I think talking about what happened with Milo Yiannopoulos and inviting whatever his name is. Why should black voters trust you? Trump's response was, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. A first question. You don't even say hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country. And that is indeed true when you talk about his then record funding for college and university, historically black colleges and universities. So, yeah, I think that was sort of a rude awakening, a rude opening from this reporter.
And then she feigned outrage by when Trump said, she brought up that Trump has been saying that, a lot of the illegal immigrants are taking black jobs. And, well, what is a black job? And he said any job that someone might have, right? Because he truly does believe that. But which party likes to slice and dice people based on race, ethnicity, gender, sex? It's the Democratic Party. One of her questions was, why should black voters trust you now for another 4 years, right? So what is a black voter then? What's a black job? What's a black voter then? Are they not American? What's the difference? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my opinion, when you talk about it ties right into what we were just talking about earlier. When you talk about which is the side that divides people and puts them into their own little cubby holes, it's the organization that promotes groups like White Dudes for Harris. Or I think there's also a white women group for Harris. And
yes,
someone was looking to create Amish for Harris. Look it up. It's on X.
Or her current running mate who said, if you don't know whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. What was that about?
Yeah.
Trump basically had his you ain't black moment with Kamala Harris.
Absolutely correct, man. So listen, I think we've had our fun. I hope everybody out there has been enjoying the show. I appreciate Diana and Christy and everybody else in the chat that came to hang out with us. I think it's really cool that you guys did. And I think it's final thoughts time, pal, because I know, we got lives to get back to. We got to get out of here. So am I going? You went first last time. I guess I'm going first.
Let's do that. That sounds good.
All right. So mine comes with a little bit of a visual. We talked about it earlier in the week on the show. This whole discussion of Kamala Harris got me thinking about Well, what's in a name? We talk about Kamala Harris and her ancestry, where she may be from, where she not from. But there was a title that was bestowed upon the vice president, or was it, called Border Czar. If you look out there now, ever since Kamala Harris has become a candidate for president, we can't call her Border Czar. That wasn't the title she was given. It was root causes. It was diplomacy. It was this, that, and the third. And the Harris campaign's probably first unforced error had to do with how to respond to this whole Border Czar thing. I got to give credit again. Media Research Center, Newsbusters, they took the talking points that were leaked out to the media that people shouldn't have gotten and matched it up to what the talking heads on the Democratic Party side are doing out in leftist media. This is phenomenal. I just want to take 30 seconds to show this.
Not something that was formally conveyed upon her.
She's been labeled incorrectly by some members of the right as the border czar. Republicans named her the border czar.
Republicans have always exaggerated what her job was at the border.
Republicans, again, have labeled her the border czar.
But that's not exactly what President Biden asked her to do.
She was never put in charge of the border.
That wasn't actually her task.
Not to secure it, but to address the underlying roots of migration. She was charged with leading the administration's efforts to address the root causes of migration.
Now, these aren't the talking heads talking. These are the anchors talking. It's completely ridiculous. Folks, you're falling for kabuki theater if you're going in line with Kamala Harris. Don't do it. Don't be a buffoon. Don't fall for the pageantry and the show out there because you're throwing away your vote. Don't be stupid with your vote. It's basically the whole premise of my goddamn book. Don't be a buffoon. Russ, on you now, pal.
All right. My last thought for tonight is the party that exists today, known as the Republican Party, is really the party of Donald Trump. I am convinced that after this cycle, win, lose, or draw, the Republican Party is pretty much doomed unless we have another Trump-like figure to take the helm. And I'll illustrate it with this point. The Secret Service committee hearings, and you can fill in the blank with committee hearings for a whole host of things that have happened over the last few years, and really going back like 8 years. When the Republicans have power and they control the committees and they're the chairman, they're quick to release statements on X and hold hearings. But where the rubber meets the road is congressional responsibility to fund or defund government agencies. That's where they can make their money, and they never do. They don't do it. They didn't do it before when they went after Trump. They didn't do it when January 6th political prisoners were being taken. They didn't do it after Trump was nearly assassinated. So it's time to put up or shut up, right? The Secret Service, the FBI, they need to pay a heavy price. And what price did the FBI pay recently? They got a brand new building approved with bipartisan support. So the Republicans are all talk, no action. I love me some Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. I can listen to them and watch them for hours. But when it comes time to shutting down the government, they're nowhere to be found. Yeah, maybe we don't have enough votes to shut down the government completely. But every single bill that goes through both houses of Congress, we can slow the shit out of them and delay. Make them pay a fucking price. After Trump is gone, Gene, I think the Republican Party is done for, honestly.
You know, unless someone like a Ramaswamy steps up to lead the party and takes over the mantle from Trump, I absolutely agree with you. I think one time on a show way back a couple of years ago, you likened the road to ruin for America as two different lanes. You got the Democrats in the fast lane, and you got the Republicans in the slow lane. But they're both headed to the same destination. That's it, man. Listen, that said, I think it's time to shut this sucker down. What do you think, man? Time we ready to get
down, Mean Gene. Shut it down.
Let's get this thing done. And you know what? Let's end on a bang. We're gonna play our theme song out here, folks. Gene and Ross behind enemy lines. We're out of here. Play the fucking theme song.
Trapped in the fray.
born in this Democrat cave.